Meet Tom. Tom is excited as it's his first day at ICC's Stuffanol plant in Plant Town, UKA. Tom has been sent here by Vice President Henry with the mandate of getting things on track when it came to safety and compliance. Tom meets Bob, the plant manager, and while he likes the straight talking man, he quickly realizes that change will not be easy. Tom, I have been here 35 years. I started out as a lab assistant. Don't come in here with your newfangled head office ways, young man. This plant is the heart of this town, and we know how to look after it. Tom decided he would focus on learning all about the plant. The Stuffanol reactor had a number of important temperature limits, and the consequences of going too high were very concerning. There were 5 reactors, and they had an operating temperature set at 160 degrees Celsius, which led to their maximum conversion of Stuffanol. At 180 degrees, the reaction would run away and lead to an overpressure event that would impact the surrounding community. The reactor had an operator intervention requirement at 170 degrees, requiring operators to manually relieve the pressure and stop the reaction. It also had a limit switch set at 175 that would activate the cooling systems to prevent the reactor from reaching the critical 180 degrees and subsequent overpressure. Tom looked back at the operating data and found a number of concerning things. The limit switches were unreliable and occasionally they were completely disconnected, rendering the cooling system ineffectual. According to the logs, it was very likely that every few months the temperature in the reactors breached the maximum 180 degrees. The reactors were old and relied on manual temperature readings by operators. There was an old school pen style recorder in the control room, but he noticed that when the temperature readings got high, the readings stopped. He suspected the operators were lifting the pen, preventing the readings from being recorded. The manual pressure intervention at 170 degrees resulted in a material release that was supposed to be documented and recorded. However, operators were ignoring this request as it resulted in extra paperwork and less time for production. He suspected that supervisors and the plant manager, Bob, were turning a blind eye to the behaviour, but Tom had no concrete evidence. Tom developed an expenditure proposal to modernise the control system, introducing more robust trip systems. However, it was met with scepticism from plant manager Bob. We pay operators, Tom. That's their job. It's my job to keep this town employed. Tom decided to wait for the regional manager, Harriet, to visit. I'm sorry, Tom. I just don't think the business can afford it. Have you seen the operating costs here? With the money the company had borrowed to buy the plant from ODW Industries, there was not much left for so-called gold plating by Tom. Then it happened. One of the reactors breached the 180 degrees. It ran away, blowing the top joint of the reactor, spraying material all into the surrounding community. Luckily, no one was hurt, and given his standing in the community, Bob dealt with the complaints, asking them to trust him, which they did. Bob instructed Tom to fire the operator on the day. Tom was not comfortable with this approach. We should change this work situation, not blame the operator. Tom showed Bob a copy of one of the latest process safety publications from ICHemE, which was required reading at headquarters. Don't expect me to read that, it's too academic. The best way to stop human error is a good kick in the butt. My thoughts exactly. They need to take some accountability for their actions. Harriet agreed vehemently with Bob. So now Tom has a decision to make. What should I do? For now, he could do nothing. Bob would retire in a couple of years, maybe even sooner, and Tom had a good chance of getting that job and he could put things right then. In the meantime, he would see what he could do for the unjustly demoted operator by seeing he got plenty of overtime and special jobs that were going on. But supposing there was another runaway and this time someone was killed. Tom could tell the safety inspector the true story. Bob had convinced the inspector the runaway was the fault of an operator who had disconnected a limit switch and then ignored the readings. A double failure, quite unforeseeable. But whistleblowing could mean the end of Tom's career with the company if Bob finds out. Tom really would like to persuade Bob to take action with some more technical data. He could assemble a task force and report on the details of the Stuffanol release, including log sheets, temperature profiles, etc., showing the risk of this happening again. They really need to increase the operational discipline at this site. If he could prove that the unit operators and shift supervisors were looking the other way, then maybe Bob might take it more seriously. But he did know that all the operators, including Bob, remained loyal to each other. Tom does worry that he would be on record as having known about the problem and letting it continue if he doesn't get Bob to step up. Tom could always escalate his concerns to Henry, the group vice president. Tom dislikes being loyal to Bob and is also worried he doesn't know Henry well enough to presume that this would be considered an appropriate course of action. Talking to the corporate safety director would also likely achieve nothing. Though technically sound, he's a weak character and would be unlikely to publicly support Tom to Henry. Of course, he could always just look for another job. Although this will not solve the problem, at least it will make it someone else's. Tom reasons he could have much greater impact somewhere else. So now we ask you to consider the question, what should Tom do in this situation? The second question is a little trickier. What would you do in this situation? It's all well and good to look at someone else's situation and offer them advice. But if you put yourself in the hot seat, would you change your mind? We ask you to consider both questions, and soon we will show you a link to a survey that will allow you to record and submit your answers.